Call the Board of Supervisors to order. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Hohen?
Supervisor Giomi. Here. Supervisor White. Here. Supervisor Horton. Supervisor Schutte.
Here.
Mayor Bagwell.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're now, let's see, is Rabbi, is he here? Oh, there he is in the back. Come on up. And push the button once so that the little round circle turns green. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Honorable Mayor, esteemed supervisors, and member of the community, thank you for having me. Tonight marks the first night of the Jewish holiday of Hanukkah, which commemorates the miraculous victory of when the militarily weak yet spiritually strong Jewish people were able to conquer and repel the mighty yet morally corrupt Syrian Greek Empire that had entered the land and threatened to engulf the people and the nation of Israel in darkness. Upon reclaiming the Holy Temple, the Jewish people sought to light the menorah, as one of the commandments is to do in the temple, yet they were unable to find enough oil, the necessary pure oil to light the menorah. The only amount of oil they were able to find was one small jug, only enough to last for 1 day. Miraculously, that one jug of oil lasted for 8 days until they were able to replenish the supply. In commemoration of that, Jewish people celebrate the holiday of Hanukkah for 8 days, lighting the menorah. This menorah represents and symbolizes a universal message of freedom, freedom from oppression, from tyranny, and the freedom to practice as each person sees fit. The menorah also symbolizes also reminds us that each person possesses a great ability to illuminate the world with a small flame repelling a great darkness. And with that in mind, let us pray. Almighty God, we pray for a productive and successful meeting. May Carson City continue to stand as a beacon of liberty and freedom, a place where individuals, irrespective of race, culture, or religion, can thrive in harmony. Father in heaven, grant guidance and wisdom to those entrusted with enacting laws and policies, and be mindful of your presence in their lives and conduct their work accordingly. May they be blessed in their personal and professional lives in recognition of the communal effort they undertake here today, and let us say amen. I'd like to take this opportunity to invite everyone this coming Tuesday to a public menorah lighting we're going to have right here in Carson City at Bob McFadden Plaza, Tuesday afternoon at 4:30, as we celebrate Hanukkah as a community and shine the light that brings us all together. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your good words. If you'll all stay standing, Ms. Sullivan, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have Nancy? Public comment? Okay, so while she's getting the document to see who is here for public comment, just a quick moment to recognize Pearl Harbor Day. It's hard to imagine, 82 years or so ago, quite a while, but it's important that we remember and just give a moment for that. In keeping with that, just to let people know, Wreaths Across America will be at Lone Mountain Cemetery on December 16th at 9 a.m. The wreaths will be delivered, and if you want to come out and help us place those wreaths on veterans' graves, it's really a moving ceremony, and many hands make it go quick. It's often cold, so we like more hands to help us get them put out quickly. So just as a reminder on that. And for anyone that doesn't know, Sierra Flats, which is our project that we did on Budeye Way, is leasing up for the first 80 units. 40 units were seniors, 40 were family, and those are now in the process of being leased with a potential date of March 1st for move-in. So that's exciting to see that project coming to fruition. Okay, so first up for public comment, Ms. Sullivan. Mhm.
Thank you, Mayor, Board. Hope Sullivan, Community Development Director. I'm really excited to introduce our new building official, James Wentworth. What you'll remember is in 2014, the city contracted the building division to Charles Abbott Associates. James does work with Charles Abbott. He's been assigned to the city for over the last 6 years, so I've worked with him for more than 6 years. He's committed to good customer service, to being solution-oriented, to try to kind of streamline things, to make things simpler, yet make sure we're enforcing our codes. We've had those conversations. And so without exception, everyone who's realized James is now our building official is just thrilled. And with that, I'll let James say a couple words.
Mr. Went?
Is it already on? Good morning.
Good morning.
No, I am absolutely thrilled to be able to serve the community in this capacity. When I came here 6.5 years ago, I fell in love with the area. More than that, I fell in love with the people that were here. And that's how I've enjoyed this job, is just helping out people to the best of my ability. And I look forward to this opportunity. I'm sure a lot of you know an inspector who's retired about 6 times, Van Clegg. He had a joke when he would finish his inspections, kind of a joke, but he said, "Is there anything else the building department can do for you?" And that's an attitude, and that's how we feel. So as a building department, we're there to help people navigate through their building needs to the best of our ability. So we have a good team at 108 East Proctor, upstairs, downstairs, and it's a team effort. So looking forward to it.
Well, we look forward to it. It's good to have someone that we know. It's very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And good luck. Let's see. I don't know if John, did you want public comment? Riser? No? Okay. Danny said not sure, maybe, so come on up. You bet.
Danny French, Carson City, Nevada. Thank you, Mayor and Board. I want to make an explanation because I'm not trying to be unrespectful or disrespectful, but having to stand once I get up sometimes is the best thing to do until I gather myself and get a little bit better composed physically. But thank you all for your patience. I want to thank the mayor and everybody that put on, and I know it's called other things, but to me it was a tree lighting. It was my first to go to. I'm not actually have problems with groups or crowds or such, but the cold and groups and crowds and such were a little intimidating, but I'm so glad I was already up and around. I had gone to the city hall to pick up the agenda, and so I was here. And so I put on an extra jacket on top of my jacket, and I had a great time watching people enjoy themselves. So all the efforts was really amazing. And then I'd just like to shout out to the group that, well, the kids were amazing. That was just wonderful. And so all the maintenance and such, as I worked for the city of Carpinteria, I never was part of an event, but my father would go out in Pasadena and he would help set up for the Rose Parade. And because of my circumstance, I wasn't necessarily able to go till I was in my teens. But and then I didn't stay over. I ended up having to leave and watch it on TV. But the main thing is those things take a lot of effort and time. And I know my father missed the event because he was taking care of the event. I appreciate all the support from the sheriff's office and all. Their presence was felt but not overpowering, and it was a great experience for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'll just echo what a great production. And Darren, sometimes some staff get left out, or people for the thank yous. Please let your team know how much we appreciate their efforts to come in early, cold stringing lights and just well done. Just let them know that we appreciate it. Do I have any other public comment? Okay, then we're going to move on the agenda to item 6, which is approval of our minutes of November 2nd. Did anyone have any corrections or anything? I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of November 2.
I move to approve the Carson City Board of Supervisors meeting minutes of 2 November 2023 as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We're now on to our consent agenda. Does any member need anything pulled? I'll take a motion for approval of the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda consisting of items 7A, 8A, 9A, 10A, 11A, 12A, 12B, and 12C, all as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We're now on to agenda item 14, which is discussion and possible action regarding the appointment for 2 general members to the 911 Surcharge Advisory Committee, each for a 2-year term. You can expiring in December of 2025. So one is Denise, that's our reappointment. We generally just do those. Wait a minute. And, oh, Yvonne though isn't here? Yeah, Denise is a reappointment, so we don't require reappointments to interview, but, no, Yvonne? Yeah, it's not a mandatory. So let's see, what we can do is, why don't we take up 14B? We'll see if Yvonne comes. Give her a couple minutes. If not, we'll just take the motion to reappoint Denise, because I think we should always see the new ones. Does that work for everybody? Okay, then we're gonna take up 14B at this point, which is discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of 2 members to the Audit Committee, each for a term ending December 2025. Bonnie is the reappointment, but we have 2 new applicants, Roylyn Stack and Christopher Wall. Curtis Lanyon pulled his application this morning, so is Roland here? We're gonna make a quick swap. It does, well, it doesn't. It projects enough for the recording, though. And would you just state your name for the record?
Roylene Stack, and it is spelled correctly with 1 E.
Roylene. Oh, thank you.
Talk to my, well, I can't talk to my mother about it anymore.
It's too late.
Yeah,
It's too late.
definitely.
There you go. Well, first of all, thank you so much for applying for the position. We need, the audit committee is probably one of our most difficult to fill, so we really appreciate all the applicants that come forward to do the position. You haven't been through the process before?
Not here.
Okay.
I worked for 32 years for Contra Costa County, so I went through multiple interviews with promotions. I used to go speak to the board regularly on budget issues and labor issues, so
You're okay.
fine.
Okay, I'm just gonna let you know what's gonna happen is we're each just gonna ask you a
Okay.
question or two. We'll go down the board and have them do that, and then we will interview the other candidate that's here. You're welcome to stay during that interview process, and then at the conclusion, we'll make a decision for the appointment. So again, thank you so very much. Why don't you tell me what you've done to prepare for this particular board?
Honestly, I was a governmental accountant, grant accountant for 32 years. So I understand governmental processes, governmental finance, grants, where buried bodies are at times. I was audited with my various programs almost annually, depending on what program was picked, by grand jury auditors, federal auditors, state auditors, citizen auditories. So I went through all that. So I kind of am very used to being on the other side of the process. And I'm hoping what I can bring to it is, if we're going in speaking to people, looking at stuff, kind of to bring my knowledge of what it's like to be them. Because at first it can be intimidating. After a couple of years, it's like, oh yeah, whatever. Audits are not meant to be vicious, mean, awful. We're gonna blame you for the universe things. I always viewed it as, you saw I did something wrong, great, tell me, I'll fix it. And I learned from it. And I want people on that other side, I want to be able to give the people on that other side the ability to learn from it and not be intimidated and frightened, and it's the end of the world.
Thank you. Supervisor Giomi.
Worlene, as a member of the audit committee, you're going to rely upon the city auditor to provide you with information. How will you ensure that the city auditor has been thorough in the presentations and the information that he or she presents to you?
I'm sure I'm not going to get access to their system. As a county employee, we would sometimes have I was involved in other entities, and we'd have, Public Information Act, which is you're supposed to be able to get all records. And knowing what I knew sometimes they weren't all there, so I could get into the system back then and pull the missing pieces. Now, whether or not this committee has access to go into a system and look for other pieces, I don't know. I know there's confidentiality clauses for a lot of stuff, but basically piecing things together and looking for gaps. You get this information and you got this it just glares at you, something's missing, something's not right. The paper trail isn't complete. Then I give them the benefit of the doubt and say, I think there's supposed to be something here. It looks like we might be missing. Can you guys go through it again? You got to give them the benefit of the doubt. They are busy people. You guys are small. Probably didn't have the staff I'm used to having access to. But again, you just line it up. You should be able to tell if there's something not right, something missing, gaps in payments to something. You look at the expenditure run and you've spent $2 million, but this stuff here only adds up to $1.3 million. Oops, something's missing. So
Okay,
put the
thank you.
pieces together.
Supervisor White.
Thank you. The purpose of the audit committee is to maintain oversight of the internal and external audit functions. What elements will you employ to fulfill this obligation?
Just doing the job, being thorough, analyzing data and material, reading what is requested and required for the particular audit. No two audits are the same. You audit the sheriff, it's going to be different than animal services, which will be different than your WIC program, which I know we're Barry bought. I was the WIC accountant forever. They're all going to be a little different, but again, you got to get the data, line it up. Does it look right? Does something look like it's missing? Your expenditure runs have to line up with revenue runs, which have to line up with the payments made in and coming in, going out. Incoming payments, were they handled properly? Were they endorsed immediately? Were they deposited immediately? I'm not sure if your system does. We were on an ETF. We very seldom saw big checks from anybody. State and feds just ETF. But again, that went to the treasurers. We'd get the notification and have to shoot the stuff through. And there was just because so-and-so's on vacation is no excuse not to follow through. There has to be the backup system. So making sure all funds are handled properly coming in and going out. Is there proper documentation for a payment? We got a great copy of a check here that went out. Well, where's the backup? Where's the detail? Why are we paying this bill? Making sure everything is packeted and complete and concise, that paper trails are complete, incoming and outgoing.
Thank you.
Supervisor Horton.
Good morning.
Morning.
Do you feel like the current audit committee has done a good job of oversight, or do you feel like there's room for a great deal of improvement?
I'm kind of a newbie to town, so I cannot honestly answer that. I'll be point blank honest with you. I have had no dealings with them. I haven't been here that long to really, this is kind of my first step in really dipping my toes into anything here. I was involved where I used to live, but it's been kind of a slow train understanding how things here work. It's very different. There's not as many citizen committees. I mean, I'm used to like laundry lists of them. So in all fairness, I cannot answer that question.
Thank you.
Supervisor Shooty.
You've answered so many of my questions, so I'm sitting here coming up with.
Throw
you.
spaghetti at the wall.
This is wonderful, though. So, because we're a small city, how do you see, or what do you feel is the best way that we prioritize the projects we will be auditing each year? Or what would lead you to feel that this is an important program or department to audit?
Some of it would be the incoming and outgoing. And it's surprisingly, I think people don't realize, sometimes the smaller projects, the smaller departments, they get so overlooked for the big guy, because everybody focuses on the big. Everybody's going to focus on your sheriff's department, your social service department, because those are big budget. But a lot of times things get buried and can go sideways in little things. And I know personally, little tiny grants, if any of these people have little grants, they are the most horrible thing to do reporting on, which is why nobody likes little grants. But I think everybody has an equal, and there should probably be a schedule actually set up, a rotating schedule, and not necessarily real tight on it. You don't want them to think, okay, we can do da-da-da-da-da, and they're not going to look at us this year. Never let them have that, because you can legally. If I go in this year and look at social service, I can have them pull stuff from, if they haven't been audited in 3 years, they have to pull me stuff for 3 years. I can request the 3 year, which is what the feds love to do. So you have to keep records forever. But I think everybody, a rotating schedule and a mix of big and small. You don't want to take all big on at once.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everything is important. It's people's tax dollars. And, especially if people bring a lot of red flags into play, legitimate red flags, like they've got evidence of something not right, not just sitting here going, hey, I don't like them and I think they're wasting money. No, have the evidence. And, you can adjust a schedule accordingly to that type of process too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So then you have an opportunity. Is there just any closing remarks or things that you think we should know about before we make our decision?
Like I said, this is my first toe dipping here. I was on a couple of committees in the city of Martinez and the city of Concord, and it was kind of hard for me at times. They had to kind of find places that wouldn't be a conflict of interest, because I was a public health accountant. Our health services department in our county, at the time I retired, had almost 5,000 employees. Our county had close to 13,000 employees overall, so it was a big fish. Like I said, I've had a lot of experience being on the other side of an audit. And, auditors are not mean people. I mean, I only had one, and he just got out of college, and I just said, why do you guys keep sending me the ones that get straight out of college? Because the real world isn't the book. But, it's a tool to help. It's not a tool to intimidate. And I would hopefully be able to go in and kind of put that aura to the audit and the reporting and help them fix and improve.
Okay, thank you so very much. And again, we really appreciate your time and willingness to want to serve
Sure,
the city.
thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Mr. Wall. How are you?
Greetings, folks.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Lovely day out today.
It is.
Maybe snow is in our future.
It was last night, driving home from Incline for a meeting. Go ahead and have a seat. And if you do me a favor and push the other one, that one's on, thank you. If you put your name for the record.
Christopher Wally.
Yeah, okay. You've been through a process before. You know what we're going to do. We're each going to ask you a question. And then at the end of the interview process, because you're the last candidate to be interviewed, we'll make a selection. So just to give you a little bit of how it's going to go. And I'll start off with a hearty thank you so much for applying. We need the citizens to help us on committees, and so I really appreciate that you've applied for the position. So I'll start with the first question is, what have you done to prepare for this position?
Well, that's a long question.
You get to answer it any way you want.
Probably most of my life I've been in police work. Police chief, Department of Public Safety head. I've dealt with numbers. I just hung up my U.S. Census hat. Is the body wants to, or the mind wants to, and the body's kind of unable to do things anymore. I looked a little bit around for information on the position, and my guess it's kind of, how do I put it? Just look and make sure everything's in kind of compliance and things look normal. And there's not too much money disappearing. It's just common sense type stuff.
Ooh, I like your answer of no money disappearing. That is a good answer.
Well, if we were in Washington, we'd have to just slow it down a little bit.
There you go. Okay, Supervisor Giomi.
Thank you. Christopher, as a member of the audit committee, you'll rely upon the city auditor to provide you information. How will you ensure that the information the auditor provides you is thorough and the representations that he or she is making are accurate?
It's pretty simple. You usually end up introducing yourself to the person and you talk to him for a while and you get a feeling for how he is. And as you go on, you can see the number. Numbers are numbers. They don't really lie. Statistics are statistics. You can use numbers to produce anything you want to. And realistically, you just got to look at what comes in and what goes out and do they look appropriate. Again, it falls back to the common sense theory.
Thank you.
Supervisor White.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
The purpose of the audit committee is to maintain oversight of the internal and external audit function. What elements will you employ to fulfill this obligation?
To me, a lot of the stuff to deal with numbers is relationships, networking, talking to people. And you can get a good feel for how things are going. Whether, for me, police, fire, EMS, park rangers, you get to know your people well. And then I spent 21 years in the military, and I was a visitor to Iraq before it became so popular and trendy. And you get to know your people. And mostly, again, everything comes down to networking, I'll be honest with you. If you do a good job, you'll be rewarded. If you don't do a good job, you'll know. It's just keep track of the balance sheets, the budgets. Look at the numbers. Is the income going up or down? The expenses going up or down? You have to live by your expense bucket because otherwise you will be in serious trouble. A friend of mine, he brought it down to two things, your expense bucket and your income bucket. It's very simple. And if you keep it simple, you're fine.
Thank you.
Supervisor Horton.
Good morning. Do you feel that the current audit committee has done a good job with maintaining oversight, or do you feel like there's room for a lot of improvement?
You know, how do I put this tactfully? they've done a pretty good job, but as with everything in government, there's room to improve. If you want to find it, you can improve upon it. But at one point, you don't want to get to the point where you lose touch with reality. There's a happy median you have to find and a balance you live by, and as long as you do that, everything is copacetic and it keeps kind of everybody happy. It's no different than a speeding ticket. If you're like 32 and a 30, you can write a ticket if you want. You're going to get laughed out of court, but as time goes on, the numbers usually go to 42, 45. But I think overall, they've done a pretty good job. The city as a whole has done a pretty good job with the budget. Although it is nice to take advantage of things. I will say one thing. I noticed this, and I've noticed this for a few years. When I went to Iraq, we had only basic Hummers, no armor, no nothing. And the sheriff's department has one of those MRAP vehicles, which is nice. I've never seen one, and man, we sure could have used them. But if you have an opportunity to take advantage of stuff, and it works for you, do it.
Supervisor Shooty.
Thank you for applying. And my question is, how do you feel the city should determine what to prioritize regarding what to audit? You know, we have a limited budget and we're a small city. And so we need to be mindful of the yearly audits. What do you feel should be prioritized?
Well, I think the first one should go to the pothole committee. Where has the money gone? Because the potholes seem to be all over the place. I hate to say it. You just look and you kind of rotate around between various programs. If there's anything that looks out of whack, then it might be time to take a deeper look at it. You know, listen to what the constituents say. If their people are screaming about something, take a look at it. The squeaky wheel kind of gets the grease. There's a lot of things you'd like to do, but money, time precludes you from doing quite a bit. So you try to do the most you can with the least you have.
So is there any closing remarks or comments that you would like to make before we do our decision?
I was thinking about this, and I gotta say this.
Okay.
You'll love it. As a graduate of Chicago Public Schools, reading, writing, and counting is optional. And I happen to be one of the few that can read their own diploma. I started out there. I went to the Navy. I spent a little time in the Seabees, which is the construction unit. Went to school on the GI Bill at Bemidji State University. It's not known as an Ivy League school of academia, but when I was there, they were 35-0 in hockey. And that's Bemidji, Minnesota, so they were good. They were tops in their field. Then I went on into being the police business. I went to St. Cloud State, another hockey. When they have the Final Four on, they have what they call the Frozen Four in hockey, and usually St. Cloud or Bemidji will usually be up in there. So that's the only chance I get to watch the home school. And what's really important, though, is I have 5 daughters, 39 to 47. All of the kids are doing really well. I couldn't be more proud of them. If I walk out of here in life and just with that, I'm happy. Now, here's one for Supervisor Stacy. You know, you can train your kids so far and teach them so much, and that is it. But what I found out 2 of them are in management supervision now. One's in the spy business, the other's a biostatistician. And lo and behold, they would call and ask Dad about management questions. And what do I know about management questions now? I've been out of it for a while. But needless to say, I must have gave them some good advice because they keep coming back. I thought my time as a parent was over, but I can still help the kids. And the final conclusion was Amy, a statistician, 2 people got into an argument on Zoom. And I says, Amy, dump this to personnel as quick as you can because that's a no-win situation. Why didn't one of the people just put down, click leave meeting? Or if you really got upset, just pull the cords out of the outlet, and dial the computer. But there's never in life, I appears that there's always an opportunity to give. And while I have a few brain cells left, I figure I better start doing something because for chaos to ensue, all it takes is good people to do nothing. Thank you for your time, folks.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Okay, well, now it's time for us to make a decision. Does anyone want to go first? Okay, Curtis, you want to give it a shot? Okay.
Well, I think we have two very qualified applicants, without a doubt. Royland, your qualifications are excellent, and a lot of history there, a lot of value. And I got to say, I really like Chris's attitude. He's a pretty mellow guy, but likes to get the job done, and they're both very capable. I would have to lean toward Royland based on her experience at this point.
Okay. Does anybody else want to, Supervisor Schutte?
You know what, I ditto what Supervisor Horton said. Roylene, you just have such a wealth of knowledge, and I think that would really serve the committee well. Mr. Wally, yes, I love the attitude, and my hope is Mr. Wally applies for another committee, because I just appreciate how he thinks. But I would like to recommend Raylene for the position.
Okay. Supervisor Giomi?
You know, I'll say that I don't know that either candidate fully understood that our audit committee does more than numbers. I didn't get that sense from either of them. You know, having said that, I think Roylene's in a better position to be able to adapt to the way our audit committee is run, because we use it more as a performance audit group, or as much as a performance audit group as a numbers audit group. And I think her experience in government will serve better in that role. So that would be my vote.
Okay, well, we're irrelevant. That's 3. So, but Supervisor White, if you want to comment, you may. Otherwise, I'll just take a motion.
I would like to comment. I'll have to agree with Supervisor Giomi that I don't think the two candidates really understood what this audit committee does. I don't feel like Mr. Wally is qualified to do the job, regardless of his enthusiasm. This job has to rely on somebody or a group of people that are detail-oriented. And when I look at the application for Mrs. Stack, I see a lack of detail, and I cannot support either one of these candidates. I don't think we're obligated to take candidates that aren't up to the job. And I will not support either one of these candidates.
Okay. I'll just comment that I think for me, when I look to appoint candidates, I hope that they do research on the particular committee itself, not just solely rely upon your experience, which I think Ms. Stack certainly has experience. But as stated, this particular committee is reviewing the work of an auditor. So it's at a much different level. And I was expecting the answers to Ms. Schutte's question that you would come up with a risk assessment. You know, how do you select the audits? Because the auditors are going to go do what the audit committee members come up with. So I was a little bit surprised that the risk assessment didn't bubble up to your mind to say, I'm going to look at things, I'm going to look at the external audit, I'm going to look for any comments that they made for areas that might need further diving in, as you say, right? What do we need to look at? So I think you might have been going around the bend a little bit there. I do concur a little bit with Supervisor White that I do expect people when they're applying for positions to be careful on their applications. you know, it's important that it's a reflection upon the work that we think you're going to do when you serve on the committee. Do I think you have the ability? I'm going to go with Supervisor Giomi and the others that I think you could come up to speed 1 or 2 meetings and you'll go, whoo, I guess I could have watched a couple of meetings. That was one of the other answers when I asked what you did to prepare for it. I thought you were going to say, I watched the last 2 audit committee meetings, or I read the last 2 audits that had been presented, or, you know, what are you doing to prepare? And so I do think in the end, you're going to do a good job on the committee, because I think that your wealth of knowledge will propel you. You'll know what the auditor is talking about. You won't have to come up to speed on what any of those items are, but I encourage you to prepare and not just come to the first meeting. So I would just encourage you to go ahead and look at the last audits, look at the last meetings, see what audits are outstanding so that you're a little more prepared to participate at the first meeting. So I am going to support you based on your experience, because I think it's exactly the types of activities that we look for on the audit committee. So thank you. And Christopher, what a joy. Just a joy of an individual that cares, and you can tell he wants to do, excuse me, wants to do good for his community, raised a good family. Thank you for being in the community and for applying. But it's just, excuse me, it's just not quite the right role for you to serve. So, but thank you. So with that, does someone want to make a motion? Supervisor Schutte.
I move to appoint Bonnie Duke and Roylene Stack, each to fill a term ending in December of 2025.
Excuse me, just for one moment. Do you want Supervisor White? I will give you the honor if you'd like. Would you like us to split this to Bonnie versus?
No, that's fine.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to give you the honor to vote for Bonnie if you wanted.
No, that's fine.
Okay. Is there a second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Oh, okay. Changed his mind. Thank you. Let the record reflect the motion was unanimous. Okay, and good luck. And we can't wait to see new things out of the audit committee. So welcome. Yes, yes. Okay, no Yvonne. Okay, we're going to go back to agenda item 14A. And that is for an appointment to the 911 surcharge committee. I will accept a motion for the reappointment. Supervisor Giomi?
I move to reappoint Denise Bauer to the 911 Surcharge Advisory Committee for a term expiring in December of 2025.
Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second for the appointment of Denise Bauer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Do I have a vote, Supervisor White? Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Okay, we're now on to I swallowed wrong there. Agenda item 14C, discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of an alternate member to the TRPA for a term ending December 31, 2024. I don't know that there's a ton to discuss here. Miss Aldine notified us that she's going to miss her first meeting in 12 years or something.
Say that, can I just say?
Perfect
that
attendance.
I find that incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
Supervisor Aldine has represented this community on the TRPA for 12 years and has never missed a meeting. I just kudos to her. That's an incredible record. And knowing former Supervisor Aldine, I know it's killing her to not make this meeting.
Well,
But it's just a remarkable record.
well, and the fact
And-
that she
and not-
cares so much that she even called to have us put
Yes.
an alternate
Yes.
on so Carson City would be represented.
And I will say this, she's
Yeah.
not just representing
Yeah.
us there. She's doing a fantastic job of representing this community and its citizens with that bi-state organization. So
Mhm.
anyway, kudos to her and thanks to her for her continued service.
And so I don't mind serving as the alternate. I'm happy to do it. I already serve on TDD, which is the organization that bubbles up of a lot of recommendations and stuff to TRPA. So I'm probably only a 50%er because I have the transportation components of TRPA and all their studies and plans. I do currently obviously serve on our housing task force and everything else, so I think I'll be okay, but I'm happy to take this one meeting because I'm sure she won't miss any other meetings. So unless someone else, yes, Supervisor Giomi then?
I move to appoint Mayor Bagwell as the alternate. Not on. I move to appoint Mayor Bagwell as an alternate to the TRP for the term ending December 31, 2024.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Okay, we're now on to agenda item 15A, discussion and possible action regarding a master plan amendment to eliminate the Brown Street specific plan encompassing 14-plus acres generally located on Brown Street and North Edmonds Drive between Gordon and Reeves. You're not Miss Ferris, so we're going to go with Miss Hope Sullivan.
Thank you. Hope Sullivan, Community Development Director. The board may recall back in January when you looked at the annual master plan, this was one of the items identified. At that time, we talked about it, and we talked about that at the time of the Brown Street specific plan being created, the city had a land interest in there. They owned property. There were plans for that property. The city has since divested itself of that property. The specific plan is literally one block. It's a very small area. And so the elimination of this specific plan will mean that the property within the boundaries of the specific plan are treated like every other property in the city. The Planning Commission reviewed this request, I guess, on October 25th, and they voted 7-0 to recommend the elimination to the Board of Supervisors via Resolution 2023 PCR4. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Does any member have a question? Don't see any. Is there any public comment on this item? Mr. French.
Thank you, Mayor and Board. 15A is covering 14 area acres. And I'm reading that from page 239. And in that acreage, has any of it been reviewed for its natural habitats and such? And is no longer any of that involved with city properties? Is that correct? I'm wanting to make sure I understand that.
There's
So-
no city property
No
on that
city
block
property.
anymore.
Okay, that pretty much helped me there. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Is there any other public comment on this item? Good morning. Press and then identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, Kelly Radow, Millard Realty and Construction. Just wanted to, as one of the property owners in the area, give our support for this elimination of it.
Okay, any other? I don't see any other public comments, so I'll bring it here for a motion. What do you want to make a motion? Supervisor Horton.
I move to approve the amendment to the master plan as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you so very much. We are now, let's see, up to, on agenda item number 16, our non-action items. Ms. Paulson, do you have anything to report?
Just a couple reminders. The next meeting will be the Board of Health, and it'll also be the presentation for the annual audit, and also Ugly Sweater Day.
Fault. It's going to be all your fault when you see those.
Christmas sweater.
I have mine. I have mine ready to go.
Oh, boy.
Pulled out of mothballs.
There you go. Does any member have something to share?
I will just, and I spoke to this at the Parks and Rec meeting the other day, but on Monday, I was spinning on the mountain bike and just saw so many people out and about, and the east side of Prison Hill on that trail, and bikers and walkers and strollers and horse footprints and just all of that. And then later in my ride, I ended up getting a flat, and I met the nicest people on the trail. And I always ride prepared, and I had my new inner tube and all the tools, but I wasn't as prepared as normal because I didn't have a pump. And my
Minor
new
details.
friend Mike had a pump, and my new friend Louise, they didn't know each other, but we all just hung around while the tire was being changed, and everybody just shared stories and talked about how lovely Carson City is. And I just wanted to point that out, that that's the beauty of our trails and our pathways and our connected streets, and it's opportunities for people to meet and talk and greet and just enjoy Carson City. So wanted to share that.
That's wonderful. Does anybody else have anything? I will say that I did think the fifth graders did a fantastic job at Silver and Snowflakes. As you said, the Christmas tree lighting event just turned out to be a delightful evening. And it's, as you said, I just can't think of any more joy than to see happy faces and people just enjoying one another, right? For the oohs and the ahs of the lights turning
Even
on.
the
and-
Grinch behaved. It was just so cute.
Almost.
Almost. There you go.
There you go. It was a good Grinch.
Absolutely.
It was a good Grinch. But, and really, again, kudos to all the staff from both the city and the state and the chamber and all the different participants. Really, the Downtown Business Association doing cookies, Holiday with a Hero with hot cocoa, the Nugget with cookies and cocoa, and just, Hilltop. What a nice addition that was with their music that their rock band did for us. So just fantastic event for the community. But nobody else has anything else under? Is that it? Okay, then we'll go to final public comment for the Board of Supervisors. Seeing none, then we will, were you going to get up? I'll wait 1 second. That's okay.
Mayor Bagwell and board, I haven't caught my composure yet, but I do want to add that I appreciated the fact that the Rock Church group filled the air with song after the main presentation. And I'd like to thank the appeal, but the appeals left. Their information allows me to keep up with the community. I'm not that much into the community since I've stopped volunteering and such, but it really does help, and it puts a picture to it that stays framed on the page and doesn't necessarily go out if I mess up on the computer. So I appreciate it very much, but I also have things that I need to bring up very quickly. I would like the consent agenda to be a little bit more present, and I appreciate the change from acronyms to things that add up quickly, because letters can mean different things as dependent on their placement and things. So thank you for the acronym considerations. I also want to suggest that people, not only myself, but that 8A community centers, 9A finance, 10A juvenile opioid situation as far as funding for the opioid issues and counseling for alcohol and such. I'd also like to bring up 11A, the storm drains. We're looking at having to consider how we're relating to what we consider streams and water runoff now as storm drains. And that's a shame because we don't have the streams and areas open now. A lot of them are underground, and that's a shame. So I'd like to bring that up. And for people to remember that the Board of Supervisors, the commissioners, the committee meters, the agents they're available. Please. You know, I get up because I'm not handy with a computer, and by the time I get myself forming a statement, I'm out of time. But the main thing is, if you have something you want to share, because that one little bit might change someone's position or give them a room for thought on things, and recently my room of thought has grown. You and I have differences on the development and growth. I don't feel we need to consider that our main goal. Nothing of the growth has changed my taxes. They haven't gone down. Nothing of that's kept the roads from being as cluttered with traffic. None of that's getting the roads fixed. So I would like to also suggest that we talk to our legislature about desanitizing with tax reductions for people that are wanting to come. If they want to come, they won't need a tax break. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Pretty good. Okay, is there any other public comment? Making sure there's none. Okay, then we're going to adjourn as the Board of Supervisors, and I will call the Redevelopment Authority to order. May I have a roll call, please?
Chairperson Bagwell,
Here.
Vice Chair Giomi. Here. Member Horton, Member Schutte,
Here.
Member White. Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We're now on agenda item number 21 of the Redevelopment Authority. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 22. Approval of our minutes, July 6, 2023. Did anyone have any corrections or updates? If not, I'll accept a motion for approval.
I move to approve Carson City Redevelopment Authority meeting minutes of July 6, 2023 as presented.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. We're now on to agenda item number 23A, discussion of possible action regarding a substitution of trustee and deed of reconveyance and associated escrow documents reconveying the Carson City Redevelopment Authority's interest in a redevelopment authority lien and agreement at 705 North Carson Street. Ms. Sullivan, is there anything that has not been?
No, I have
met?
nothing to add to the report. I'll just mention Mr. Lampkin is present.
Any member have any questions on this? It's pretty straightforward. They met the conditions? Not? Okay, is there any public comment on this item? It's looking good. Okay, I'll take a motion then. Supervisor Schutte?
I move to authorize the mayor to execute the substitution of trustee and deed of reconveyance and associated documents.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. Let the record reflect it was unanimous. Thank you. We're now on to final public comment. Is there any final public comment? Make sure it's not comment. On redevelopment. Just so you
Yes.
know. Okay.
The redevelopment angle, I would like to take into consideration of add an ingredient of environment.
Add what?
Add in the consideration for the environment. I don't think the redevelopment has as broad of a review consideration pack so that they are included in that. I think it should be part of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, then we are adjourned as the Redevelopment Authority. And good meeting, and thank you all. Everybody be